Welcome, everyone. You are in the right place. As we have folks entering in the room, I want to welcome you to today's Women in Cleantech and Sustainability Virtual Happy Hour, co-hosted here with Plug and Play, who's shown up strong in terms of the facilitator ranks. So we just welcome everyone. Welcome. We've got a few coming in here. Abigail, let me know when you've got everybody in the room. You are in the right place. My name is Glenna Wiseman. I'm delighted to be your moderator tonight. Tonight's program highlights the role of utilities in livable smart cities. And we do have a packed agenda, so we will just give it a couple minutes here to let everybody in the room until we get started here officially. I want you to know that we have a very strong team to support you from our events team tonight and our Plug and Play team in terms of facilitators. We are one of the best with these virtual happy hours. You already know our reputation with these, so you're going to get a chance to do breakout sessions. You're going to get a chance to network. You're going to learn something new as you head into the 4th of July weekend here, ladies and gentlemen, and we're just going to have a great time. So,
yeah.
We have Sarah Fuentes here, our vice chair. Say hi.
Hi, everyone. Nice to have everyone.
Hi,
this
Sarah.
is exciting.
All right.
This is great. We love seeing everybody.
And we have Carolyn here, our new co-chair of the events committee. Say hello, Carolyn.
Hello. Welcome.
And her co-lead, Miss Abigail.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining today.
All right, excellent.
Linda, it looks like we have a forum here, so we can probably go ahead and get started whenever you are ready.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to move over to the agenda file. Agenda slide, please. And we're going to let you know that we do have a packed agenda tonight. We are hoping to do a Q&A at the end if we can get time. We want you to know that we've got lots of support for you tonight from our events team. So please feel free to reach out in the chat and let us know what you need. If you are joining us for the first time, well, you found us and you're here. And we're so happy to have you here with us. So welcome, a special welcome to you. If you are tuning in and you get more brownie points or Boy Scout points, depending on which is the appropriate thing, for joining in before a holiday weekend. So let's go to the next slide. And let's talk a little bit about women in clean tech and sustainability. And if you don't know about women in clean tech and sustainability, you maybe don't know that we are an influential network of professionals working to further the roles of women in the growing clean economy and to make a positive impact on the environment. We now have lots of virtual meetings. And if you will go to the next slide, you will see our new virtual membership, which is now available, just recently launched, hot off the press. And if you join the community today, you will get a reimbursement for tonight's event. So what kind of a good deal is that? We can touch on this more a little bit later in the program. I just want to give a really nice big shout out to our committee that put this all together. This new virtual membership was a lot of work and just a really big effort. So please do check it out and make sure that you're on the list for the hottest virtual events on the planet. All right, so let's go next. So we can do a quick run through on Zoom etiquette and networking. Now you all are really, you're all professional Zoomers by now, right? You know where the chat room is in the lower right-hand corner. You know how to let people know if you need something. But let's remember to unmute and mute yourself as needed, mostly mute, except when you get into the breakout rooms. Please share your video or a picture of yourself so that we can really get as personal of a feel as we can in this virtual world. Write your name in your Zoom account so we can see who you are. And we absolutely, because this is a networking event, along with an e-learning event, please put your LinkedIn profile link into the chat room so everybody can get a chance to connect with you on LinkedIn. As a friendly reminder, we really set a nice tone here with all of these, and I really congratulate the Women in Clean Tech group, because this is a very respectful space. It's a space where we come into it with our best intentions and our highest thoughts and you know, resonance for everybody to have a good time and to share who they are, be present and be an active listener in the chat breakout sessions, and, you know, take away insights and leave your judgments behind, because this is a space that really is about learning and growing. All right, so tonight's program is the path forward for electricity and smart cities. I've actually been in the solar industry since late 2007, and I think this is really an intersection for a really great and fabulous conversation. You see my picture there on the right-hand side of your screen. I'm a board member and working on the new marketing committee for WCS. I'm also the CEO and partner for Terra Current. So I'm your moderator. Now you know who I am. And now I get to introduce our today's headliner, Mr. Wade Birataraf. Maybe if we could go back one couple slides there, Sarah, that would be awesome.
Sorry about that.
No
Sorry.
worries. Wade is the founder of Plug and Play's energy and sustainability practice. Plug and Play is the largest global corporate innovation program and the most active early stage investor. Wade works with entrepreneurs, corporate innovation leaders, and investors with a focus on the energy industry. His passion, which I am sure that you will hear today, is at the intersection of technology and business. During Wade's presentation, I just want to again highlight that we're really hoping to have a Q&A tonight. So please put your questions in the chat for Wade, and so that we can make sure that we cover them as we move along here. So now we're going to turn it over to Wade. Welcome, Wade.
Hello, Glenna. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that opening. And on behalf of Plug and Play's team, thank you to the Women in Cleantech and Sustainability for inviting us over. We have been advocates of this community for a few years now, and we encourage everyone who is viewing today to join this great community if you haven't already, because you're going to gain a lot of benefit from it. I'm also joined by my colleagues Arsh, Noreen, and Payal, representing our operations, ventures, and partnerships respectively. So look forward to connecting with you today, learning from you, and as Glenna mentioned, hopefully we can have like an interactive session today. I did prepare some slides. I want to walk you through some of the observations about the role of utilities in the smart cities of future, and what we see from Plug and Play's point of view is changing over time. Just a quick check, can you all hear my slides?
We need you to go to full present mode, Wade. All right, he's got it, people. He's got it.
Let's kick it off. All right, so everyone, really excited about where we are today in terms of the energy transition. We believe we're in the midst of an evolution in the energy sector for many different reasons. Number one, we see a lot of mandates from governments around the world for, putting more renewable assets in the world and reducing environmental footprint. Secondarily, we see the customer's expectation is changing. The millennials are becoming the largest buying cohort in the world, and they don't want to be owners. They don't want to own cars or homes, and they want to be using the shared economy. We also see transformation in technologies that are disrupting the energy sector, not only from a digital standpoint, but also the infrastructure. And lastly, as you all know, is the price of renewables. Back in Carter's administration, from $100 per kilowatt solar, we're approaching $1 per kilowatt. So things are changing very rapidly, and it's not just in solar, wind, batteries, but also, in applications of computer science and machine learning and AI that can inform some of the dialogues in that space. So, we broke down the topic today in two sessions. The first section is going to talk a little bit about the role of utilities and why the utilities are interested in the trends of smart cities. And the second portion, as it's needless to say the world is changed because of the COVID-19, and I know that women in clean tech have a great set of entrepreneurs in the community. So we wanted to share some observation in the second section of some of the best practices and what some best entrepreneurs do to survive and come out of this crisis strong. So with that, let's kick it off. I wanted to start off by sharing that, as you know, the world's population is growing, and 60% of the world's population is expected to live in the cities by 2050, which will add another 2.5 billion people to the cities, 90% of which in Asia and Africa. So it is a growing market from many different angles. Secondarily, we see a lot of investments that have been growing in the past few years in this space. And as I mentioned, it usually falls into two buckets of digitalization and the infrastructure chain. So a lot of technologies that can help improve our water systems, energy systems, food and mobility systems, and make them more efficient and sustainable. And based on the World's Smart Cities Council, the definition of smart cities is a city that is more workable, livable, and sustainable. So we see the investment in that space is increasing. And third, we see that the investments in this space, the spending of capital, is projected to be $238 billion by 2025. So the investment both from public and private sector is growing, and that creates a lucrative market for investors to get in this space. We also see that $12 billion IoT units will be used in the consumer segments by 2020 in smart cities. So overall, as I mentioned, the smart cities is interesting to the utilities for many different reasons. Number one is they see a tangible impact on people's life. So it's not just the environmental sustainability that they can bring, but also the social and economical sustainability that the smart cities can bring to the table. And the evolving technology landscape, not only in 5G and AI to deal with massive data sets and multiple data sources, but also the infrastructure, as I mentioned, from an end-to-end solution providing perspective. And lastly, we see that for investors, it's a great opportunity to get into this space because of the return on the investments and how it's anticipated to change over time. So for those of you who are not familiar with Plug and Play, our job is effectively to find and invest in startups and pair them up with investors and corporations in our network. Our investment practice is effectively a non-LP investment firm where we make investments in early stage companies without reporting to any corporations. So we're very autonomous and we're looking for venture returns. But we also think for entrepreneurs to accelerate the adoption of their technologies into the market, we need to layer in access to corporations, governments, municipalities, public and private sector. So we work with about 300 or 400 corporations that work with us to bring these startups and vet them through their mechanisms. And some of the driving forces in our portfolio are technologies that can scale globally very rapidly. And as it relates to smart cities, as you can see on this slide, we look into startups that can help improve our mobility systems. So electrification of transportation is one of our top focus areas. And as you see, we've invested in companies that are in the micromobility space, in charging infrastructure, technologies that can help with fleet operators on a real-time analysis, cutting-edge sensors that we think utilities can leverage to gain more transparency, reliability, and safety across their territories. And also a number of other technologies with zoning and monitoring assets that utilities are using in their operations today. So the technology focus areas of these utilities as it relates to smart cities usually fall into two key buckets. Number one, technology that can help them look into their assets today and make them more sustainable and efficient. And number two, the technologies that can help build the future businesses for them and tap into the emerging markets like transportation, construction, and so far and so forth. So we at Plug and Play run our smart cities initiative as kind of in conjunction of four different practices: energy, mobility, real estate, and Internet of Things. And these are the areas that, prior to COVID-19 crisis, we saw a lot of the utilities are looking at these emerging markets, depending on what regulatory landscape they were in. So if they were non-regulated utilities, they were a little bit leaning towards their customers and understanding behaviorally how they change based on the new services that they provide. And in the more regulated markets, we saw most of our utility partners looking into their operations and behind the meter solutions that they're developing. The post-COVID-19 changed a lot of the priorities and pain points for the utilities. And really, we saw some of our horizontal practices like Enterprise 2.0 and supply chain and logistics, as well as health and wellness practices that really spark our partners' interest in the utility space so they can prepare for the post-COVID-19 era and bring their employees back to the workforce, and also being able to handle the situation a little bit more effectively. So some of the trends that we saw in Q1 of 2020, and this is while during the crisis, we looked at integrated mobility companies like Doctrain or Tortoise or Quivero. We also looked at smart micro infrastructure, climate resilience, innovative construction. And those are some of the startups that we invested in. And we tried to answer some of the fundamental questions that these sectors face from a very scalable and global perspective. So as you know, we are also located here in Silicon Valley. I know the community here is global, but we also have locations in Europe, in China, in Latin America, in Japan, and around the world. So looking at these technologies that can, change some of these systemic challenges is what we thrive for. In the interest of time, I want to kind of jump into the second section and talk a little bit about some of the lessons learned. And just to anchor this moment in time with some data, partly because it's recorded and maybe watched in the future. As of today, we have 10.7 million confirmed COVID cases. And in the US, we have 130,000 death cases. So things have changed a lot very rapidly for people, and 42.6 million people in America have filed for unemployment benefits. And entrepreneurs are not exceptions in here. And we saw some of the best entrepreneurs and what they do, and we wanted to share a little bit of the best practices on a very high level, and happy to share a little bit more. So the first step in preparing to face a crisis like this is to be aware of the larger world. Our portfolio companies in China, or mostly those with China-dependent supply chains, were the first to recognize the significance of this crisis. So we encourage entrepreneurs to look outward and watch for leading indicators that foretell massive change, and really don't focus too much on only their product and their competitors, and see how the broader world can impact their business. So secondarily is the survival. Any form of survival is better than no survival. If it means that you have to hibernate, you have to slow down your product development, or you have to lay off your people. I mean, these are not mistakes. Most likely your competitors are also going through the same thing. So if you live to fight another day and you'll bloom back out, I think that's a good strategy, and we see in some of our most successful entrepreneurs. One of the hardest and most painful parts of managing a crisis is layoffs, and I alluded briefly into it. Immediately and drastically cutting costs and position is ultimately better than repeatedly demoralizing and destabilizing your staff with an endless series of smaller layoffs. I think by cutting deep early on, you allow remaining employees to cohere and rebuild with much higher confidence. So it's really crucial to make any layoffs with maximum empathy, because you will recover and people will remember you after recovery of how much empathy that you have, especially during this crisis, since many people are struggling with health issues as well as economic ones. And lastly, I wanted to say, like, some of the skilled entrepreneurs that we've seen, they have unique ability to find opportunity even amid drastic change. A lot of startups that repurpose their solutions that were in bio or in IoT or remote monitoring that are now tackling some of the challenges caused by COVID-19 and have been able to raise significant rounds. A quick example is a company called Clear Labs that was able to raise $18 million for surface detection technology that was privately used for for cancer detection, but now for COVID detection. And this is something to remember, that each of us have the opportunity to use a crisis to change our habits and thereby change our future. It's not just the entrepreneurs. And I really hope to be able to hear some of your feedback later and see what you've done to come through the situation strong.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Wade, for setting such a great context for us to talk about what's happening with smart cities. What do they look like? What are the attributes of them? We really appreciate that. And again, let's welcome everybody's questions in the chat box. But in the meantime, our first breakout session question directly relates to utilities, which is basically, what's the one service your utility offers that you feel is particularly important right now, and why? And so Carolyn has this magic wand, and she is going to wave it right now and move us into our chat, into our breakout sessions. And then we're going to talk amongst ourselves with our facilitators for 12 minutes. And then we're going to regroup. And again, there's a lot. I've got questions for Wade when we come back, and we'll see if we can get to some of those. But in the meantime, think about your utility and think about what is something really important that they are providing right now. So Carolyn, are we ready to zoom into our next breakout
And if
room?
you find yourself in the main room with me, don't worry, I'll send you off again. It's always a voyage, but have an awesome discussion.
This is
Can't have you, but you probably could do that.
Well, welcome back, everyone. This is Glenna Wiseman here again, your friendly moderator of the evening. If you want to moderate or you want to volunteer, you need to reach out to us and let us know, because we would love to have more help. That's always a good thing. So as people are coming back into the room, do we have some facilitators who would like to share some quick updates of what their groups talked about? Volunteers.
I can talk a little bit about what Elizabeth shared with us as in their work in Illinois and the work to help the utilities in that region to adopt the transformation of the transportation industry and the electrification of the fleets there, and great work that they're doing to help the regulators, think a little outside the box and push for innovative ideas and hopefully move as fast as technologies do. It was great to hear the work that you do, Elizabeth.
All right, excellent. And so can we hear another voice?
Yeah, I'm happy to share a little bit about our room. We had Alyssa with us, who actually works at a utility in San Francisco itself, which I am also in the Bay. So I learned a really interesting anecdote about their wind sites that they were setting up. And if she'd like to share it, she can definitely take the stage right now and share a little bit more about that, as well as some of her thoughts on PG&E, which I thought were really fascinating about what they're doing right now to provide immediate COVID relief, especially to make up for some of the ground that they kind of need to kind of scapegoat. So anyway, Alyssa, if you want to take the stage and just share that anecdote, I thought it was really great.
So I actually don't work for a utility. I work for NextEra. We're a developer. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Sorry, yeah, so I work for a developer, NextEra, and we're currently, one of my wind projects is under construction in Oregon. And when COVID first started, the utility in the area, Bonneville Power, is constructing our transmission line for us. And we received basically a work stop order once COVID started, due to the fact that our project the construction of the transmission line for our project was considered non-essential to the service that they provide. So basically we had to end up negotiating with BPA and ensure that, we were able to continue to build that transmission line and keep our project's commercial operation date on schedule. So it was just definitely a unique factor that we did not consider as a risk a year ago before all of this happened. So
thank you for that, Alyssa. It's that she's talking from the electricity side of our topic today, electricity and smart cities. So do we have another update from a group? Jenny, are you unmuting because you're getting ready to talk?
Yes, I am. So to jump off of that, also on the electricity side with respect to COVID, I think one really important service that electric utilities are offering right now is just keeping power on. I think that utilities right now are just not allowed to turn off power for customers that are unable to pay their bills, which is also really important, especially as we get into the summer months and it gets hotter and people need electricity to cool themselves down, to maintain their own personal well-being. And so I think that's a really important service that utilities are offering, especially since people can't really leave their own homes as well to go to common cooling centers such as libraries or malls that would normally be air conditioned.
Jenny, that's so great that you said that, because the peaks and valleys, we were talking about, our little group over there, we were talking about reliability, and then we also were talking about reporting. And then one of the other things that we shared, which is I think the most important thing, is reliability, that we've been able to receive service and that it's been reliable for the basics of water and gas and electricity to take care of our families. And then the other thing is the inconvenience that it could be not having those things. And I had to ask myself the question is, can I live without those things? And the answer was yes. And it'd be a big inconvenience, but we could do it. So that's the other thing too, that was like, wow, we're in a safe space. The other thing too that this utility provides, which is a thing that we don't even maybe acknowledge, like, so that's kind of awesome that we were able to come to that terms and the reliability and see that. So we had a great dialogue.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I know there's much more to talk about. So in a minute, we're going to zoom you over to your next breakout room, and we're going to sort of bridge into the urban environment. We've talked a little bit about the electricity side. Now we're going to move into how do you think the post-COVID working culture will change urban environments? So think smart cities, urban environments. How is COVID going to change those urban environments? And Carolyn, are you ready to zap us into our next space? It's like Star Trek.
Bon voyage.
It's Star Trek.
Awesome space travel.
Welcome back. Welcome back. All right, so let's pick on somebody. Aurora, would you give us a little update on what we discussed in our group?
Yeah, for sure. So in a group we had Mary, and then Glenna, and then of course Jenny, and then we talked about how cities need to be more planned, and then how work can be done more remotely after this, but we also have to take in mind public transportation, electrification of that, and then how we are taking action into that in our own individual roles in our workspace. That's why I summed up.
Awesome, good job. All right, who's going next? Tara, you're on mute. You're off mute. Go.
Yeah, we had a great discussion. I was in the group with Jennifer, Aura, and Leanne, and we talked almost what Aurora was saying, like thinking about the infrastructure for transportation, thinking about how as people are exiting COVID, right? Post-COVID times, a lot of people have moved out of these big cities into more urban areas, probably because work is now remote, or some people have lost their jobs, unfortunately, and have moved back home or to other states and cities. And so the demand for energy in those areas is going to increase. We also talked about being prepared and planning for disruption, and thinking about how we need to make sure we can collect data faster in order to respond faster.
Excellent. Sarah F., would you throw up the slide, please, for us on our upcoming events so that we can make sure that everybody's starting to check those out as we move through to get some more feedback from one of our groups. So do we have someone else who would like to share? Maybe Leah?
Oh. Sure, I'll share. Our group talked about public transportation. We talked about a lot of things, but for urbanism, we talked about public transportation and how it's a little scary right now that people are really wary of it. And, you know, how is that going to affect the, you know, the long-term use of this really vital piece of infrastructure? But also it's been really interesting hearing that, you know, autonomous vehicles are becoming more accepted. Lyft apparently just made a note that they are going to go entirely electric by 2030, and that always goes hand in hand with with autonomous as well. And then Uber is saying they're going to make everyone wear face masks indefinitely. So it's interesting to think maybe how just our transportation ecosystem is going to really evolve.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Do we have another share?
Yeah, so to pick up on that, one of the conversations that we had was very similar about public transportation and how BART and the buses that used to transport the Facebook workers are all transforming. And one of the things that came up for us is that IoT, especially for essential workers that have to wear bands, I could see that going into it, monitoring temperatures, being connected to phones, so kind of trending into healthcare to make sure that, you know, people are safe and following CDC rules. But yeah, definitely touched on the fact that the landscape is going to be changing and urban places are going to be thinning out because of the option for remote work.
Excellent. Thank you. So as we move into a little bit more of a Q&A here session, I just want to take a second to invite you to look at our upcoming events. Go in and buy your virtual membership. If you're not already a member, you've just got to do that. Do it right now or right after we get off the call. July 16th, we have talked a lot already tonight about electrification of our transportation system. It seems to be a running theme here for everybody. So please check out our July 16th upcoming event on energy and transportation. July 23rd, we're going to talk about how we can heal the global pandemic about climate change. We've got programming right through to August 13th that you can just sign up and just be, you know, part of the conversation, and let us know if you want to volunteer. Leah, have you put your information in the chat so that everybody can follow up with you on volunteering? I know I need some folks in marketing. So
I did.
Selfish plug there, ladies and gentlemen.
My email is in the chat. You can find me at volunteer@womenin-cleantech-sustainability.org. We are always looking for facilitators for these events and producers to help get them running. Great job experience. Also, we are always looking for committee volunteers, which is a little bit more of a commitment where you really get involved and help this organization run in marketing, setting up events, working on membership and finance. WCS Talks is our tentpole initiative. So, you know, please reach out. We are growing rapidly, so we need all the help we can get.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I would like to go back to Wade for a minute while you all are thinking of your questions and you want to get those in there. Wade, you're still with us, right?
Sure. Yes.
Awesome. There he is. Excellent. So one of the things that I was thinking about when you were speaking is, could you give us an example of one of your portfolio clients, portfolio companies that really is a good example of electrification into electricity and smart city, bridging those two sort of topics or sectors? I mean, can you kind of make it real for us of
Absolutely.
what you see is happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to, and keep in mind, there's this whole kind of value chain of electrification of transportation, and because the whole landscape is undergoing transformation, I'll just share a little facet of it that I was pretty fascinated by one of our startups that's called BlastPoint out of Carnegie Mellon on the East Coast. They kind of develop a technology that uses AI to kind of create a persona for the customers to prevent them from defaulting. And they're also using that technology for the utilities that are trying to help their customers adopt EVs. So so they build a smart infrastructure to support the future of the EV. So they use AI and they help utilities to identify the best locations and public partners for hosting future charging stations. So they help them to understand which customers are more likely to adopt EV technology next. They help them pinpoint some potential fleets that could convert to EV and really educate the consumers about this new technology. So that's kind of an example of a very scalable technology that just uses AI to collect data and inform some of the dialogues that the utility owners and stakeholders are having right now around adoption of EVs and their strategy in getting more active there.
Excellent. And thank you, Sarah, for pulling up the slide there so that everyone can see all the very many ways that you can connect with us and the Plug and Play team. I really appreciate that. Wade, maybe you could talk a little bit about where you see jobs, because jobs are going to be a huge issue. There are a huge issue with the kinds of unemployment figures that we're looking at, and we're going to, yet at the same time, we have this big transformation happening in urban environments and on the utility side. What kinds of ideas would you have for our group here about what kinds of jobs you all see you coming down the pike, and what kinds of training is going to be necessary for them?
That's a great question, Glenn, and thanks for asking that. You know, this is one of the challenges that we used to see prior to crisis on our corporate partners side. One of the biggest challenge was to acquire talent, because most of the new talent demographic, top of their mind is not to go and work for a traditional company like an oil and gas or a car company, versus they're looking for data companies like Facebook and Google and Amazon to go work for. But now during the crisis, we see on the other side of the spectrum, the workforce is now looking to see what is the new landscape look like. And my colleague, actually, Payal, can attest to that, living in Houston and working with a number of large oil and gas companies. We see those industry sectors laying off tens of thousands of jobs within the past few months. So I think one of the advices that we usually give to those looking to transition in their job is to really use this time to polish their skills in the software side of things. So learn a little bit more about what technologies around coding and computer science and data analytics are, and prepare for the new kind of job markets that most of these companies, especially in the renewable space, are looking for talent. There are startups that currently accept help in any shape or form. I think that could be a good segue to test out the market and see whether or not you're actually built for it as a first step. Usually they're short in cash, so they would probably not offer you the most competitive salary. But from our point of view, this could be the best opportunity to get involved in a technology landscape. And hopefully after that, as the economy blooms, you will find a lot more better opportunities, either in the startup world, in corporations, or even in the investment firms.
And how would somebody go about that in your mind? I mean, would they go to each of these companies and try to see if there's an opportunity? I mean,
yeah, I think the first step is a session like today. Expose yourself. There's a flood of webinars and online networking events that gives you the chance to meet with people, and there are great organizations like Women in Cleantech that put a lot of effort to put this together. So we definitely encourage everyone to be more active on these. There's Women in Cleantech, there's other ecosystem builders that throw these events. That's networking is one way to start, and obviously nurturing those relationships where you have. So take on a project. When you network with someone, try to start embarking on something, a project that you can kind of focus on and deliver on, and hopefully use that as a segue to secure your job after the market gets back.
Oh, everybody, I paid him to say that, paid him to say nice things about Women in Cleantech, although we probably don't need to do that. So let's go to the non-share screen so we can get as many people up on the screen as possible. Thank you so much, Sarah. And then we can maybe make sure we get a nice screenshot. And then let's open it up and see, do we have any question for Wade or his team? Maybe we can hear from his team members a little bit. I know we heard from Noreen, so can we hear from some of your other team members about what you do?
I can go ahead and go really quick. So my name is Arsh. I'm the program manager for energy program at Plug and Play. So working with a lot of startups once they get accepted into the program, which happens twice a year. Very happy to be here, and this is a great organization, learning from all of you guys and the breakout groups, having great discussions. So hopefully we'll be able to join another one of these sessions soon.
Excellent. And do we have another member of your team, Wade, who'd like to speak up?
Yeah, hi. This is Payal Patel. Hopefully y'all can see me. I'm based in Houston. I work for Plug and Play on our energy and sustainability team and opening up our Houston office. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And just going back to that question earlier about those individuals that may be going through a career transition or just graduating university and entering a difficult job market. I used to work for a really bougie executive search firm called Spencer Stewart. And one thing we always coached our, candidates and clients on is if you are networking, always give first. So definitely put yourself out there, and then you have so many resources that, the people the experiences you've had in your life, and you never know how that could be helpful to someone else. So put yourself out there, network, and always give. That's my advice.
Well, excellent. Did we get them all, Wade?
Yes, and yeah, my colleague Noreen also, if Noreen, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, my colleagues covered it, but also so happy to be with you all here today. I'm on the energy team, obviously with them as well. I work on the venture side, so more looking at, early stage pre-seed to Series A companies. But great to hear the insights from all of you and, different point of views that you guys have. It was really interesting, and especially hearing some insights on the future of how COVID could possibly change where we go and where we take it. Always love learning from new people. So hopefully we can join more of these events, and great to see everyone. Hopefully everyone has a great 4th.
Excellent. And Sarah F., I want to move over to you for real quick to put in the plug for our virtual membership. Come on, Ms. Vice Chairman.
Well, I'm just so excited that it's July, everybody. This is my favorite month. And so the fact that we're going virtual makes me more excited about it. And the reason why is that we're building bridges here, and it makes me excited because we get to go places that we get to think about when we're in our room. Now we get to actually be there with you. And it's amazing to me that I get to be in Houston and all these different places all at the same time. I mean, I know it sounds like corny and sentimental, but it's the truth. So, So I'm just excited y'all here.
Excellent. Well, in a couple of my breakouts, we had folks from LA. I saw folks from New York on the chat. We had a wonderful gal from Canada. So, we are truly a global organization right now, and virtual is definitely the way to go. And just think, we did not burn any CO2 emissions to get here, folks. So that is really great. So unless there's anything else, I invite you to join us as a virtual membership. There's meetings coming up. We're going to talk about energy and the electric vehicles next round. So please join us there. And let's, if we can unmute everybody and say goodbye. Have a happy 4th of July. I'm Glenna Wiseman, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today. Bye.
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Happy birthday.